Walk into any modern supermarket, and you are surrounded by aisles stocked with thousands of options. But in 1940, British families woke up to a reality where those choices vanished overnight, replaced by strict legal limits on every calorie. History books focus on the bombs and the shattered storefronts. Yet behind these damaged walls, a silent battle was being fought in the kitchen, a struggle to keep the population fed while the country was cut off from the world. These are the 1940 Ministry of Food ration books. The British diet became a matter of state bureaucracy. High-value items like butter, bacon, and meat were counted by the ounce and tracked in these tiny handwritten grids. Under these conditions, the act of cooking became a calculated survival strategy. Every meal was a puzzle where the pieces were constantly disappearing. The government flooded the country with posters and radio broadcasts promoting heavily subsidized meatless recipes. The most famous was Woolton pie, a dense mix of potatoes, turnips, and cauliflower under a flour crust, designed to keep the workforce physically capable. With fresh agriculture failing, Britain turned to processed imports like these tins of Nura and Caravan powdered eggs. While the rubbery texture and artificial smell were frequently mocked, these powders provided the protein necessary to keep millions of people moving. But as the war dragged on, even these official substitutes weren't enough. Families were forced to find nutrition in the things they used to throw away. This cross-section shows a standard butcher's bone. With meat too expensive, families bought discarded bones for the hidden fat. Roasting them, they spread the marrow on stale bread, injecting dense fuel into the bloodstream, providing biological heat to survive freezing nights. In the poorest neighborhoods, survival meant boiling potato peels and fish heads into thin, watery broths. It wasn't a meal. It was a way to create the temporary physical sensation of fullness. This was the reality of the kitchen front, a relentless search for the literal biological energy required to make it to the next morning. Government supply lines were under constant strain. Women often stood for hours in queues that wrapped around city blocks, only to find the grocer's shelves empty when they reached the front. This failure pushed law-abiding citizens into the shadows. Foragers headed into the countryside, gathering wild, stinging nettles. Once boiled, the leaves provided essential nutrients no longer available in city shops. In backyards and hidden sheds, families quietly raised rabbits. These secret hutches provided a rare, clandestine source of real protein that the official ration books could never guarantee. A whisper-driven black market emerged for high-value items like butter. These were traded after dark through trusted neighbors and hidden under floorboards to avoid detection. The risk of prosecution was high, but for many, the fear of watching their children grow weaker was a far more powerful motivator than the fear of the law. While some foods were about fueling the body, others were about feeding the mind. The most ingenious survival strategies weren't designed to stop hunger. They were designed to shield children from the grim reality of the war. When real bananas disappeared, parents created sweet illusions. They mashed parsnips with banana essence and spread the mixture onto bread, hoping the texture and scent would be enough to distract their children from the shortages. On holidays, families served mock goose, a roast made of breadcrumbs and potatoes. Everyone at the table played along, participating in the shared fiction that life was still normal. This need for psychological relief is why mothers kept a single, heavily rationed sugar cube hidden in the lining of their coats. In these claustrophobic shelters, that tiny piece of sugar was a parent's most valuable tool. If a bomb detonated nearby and a child woke up screaming in the dark, that solitary cube functioned as an emergency anchor, a quick burst of sweetness to break the shock and restore a sense of calm. Parents regularly skipped their own rations so their children could have a second slice of bread. By maintaining these small rituals of tea and dinner, they ensured an entire generation never completely lost its grip on the feeling of a normal home. These meals weren't just about nutrition, they were about defiance. When the shelves go entirely empty, how far would you go to protect the hope of the people?